Hi, welcome back to a Currently Basic Podcast. I'm Hannah, and we'll have commentary from Megan. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties on my end, so our intro and outro will be a little bit different this week. Let's get into the episode. So, we're doing another Unsolved Mystery. Woo woo. I actually, like every other person in the world right now, I am obsessed with Unsolved Mysteries. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Megan.
No, I haven't yet, actually.
It's so good! Okay.
I know it is on my list of things to watch, but as you know, Hannah, I have been crazy busy lately.
Yes, you have. You've been extremely busy.
Yeah, so I just have not had time to really indulge my darker interests.
You were doing Heathers. Isn't that dark enough interest for you?
That has been my dark interest for the last 2 months.
Okay. Well, actually, this week's episode is the case of Patrice Endres. I think I've said that right. Right?
Yes.
Yay. Okay.
This is exciting.
Oh, this is my favorite case out of the Unsolved Mysteries one, but it also makes me the angriest.
Oh, yes.
Even though I lived in a place where another unsolved mystery case took place. When I lived in Massachusetts, I'll talk to you.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. We're not that much of a paranormal podcast, so we can't, well, we might do it one day let's spice it up a little.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So this happened in Cummings, Georgia on April 14th, 2004. A client came into Patrice's shop around 11:35. The client didn't see Patrice anywhere, which was very unusual for her. So they called 911 to have it investigated because they're like, we don't know what's going on. So they're like, okay, we'll get police involved, whatever. So Sheriff Ron Freeman arrives at the scene and went looking into the shop. When he got there, he could tell something was wrong, but he wasn't entirely sure what. Everything was in place. Nothing there indicated a crime took place whatsoever. Her purse and wallet were there. Her lunch was right beside the microwave. There was only two things out of place, though. First was the cash register, which was open and empty, and the second was her truck. Her truck was usually backed into the side door entrance where she could just go through that. But this time it wasn't. It was parked right in front of her shop, which to everyone who knew her and her clients, that was something Patrice never did at all. So let's get into a little bit more about Patrice before we go on to what happened. So Patrice was a very involved mom with her son Pistol. She wanted everyone around her to be happy, and that's why she got into hair cutting. She wanted to make people look beautiful, look and feel beautiful. And she was such a hard worker. They said her shop was her dream. Her husband, Rob, helped her get that shop, and she was over the moon with it.
Aww.
She had a business that had people coming back. People would literally come get their hair done and then stay for hours just to talk with her because she was one of those people you just fell in love with. They literally described Patrice as always being so much fun to be around, always smiling, always positive, and she just had the feeling that make you feel so special.
Aww.
Yeah, and like she's all the pictures you can see of her, she's just beautiful and smiling, gorgeous woman. Like you can just feel the radiance of happy from her. She just looks
Just
like
a ray of sunshine.
Yes, absolutely. She was still best friends with her ex. I don't know if it was her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, but the father of her child. They were still best friends, even though they didn't work out romantically. And like that takes a lot, or that says a lot about a person if you can do that. Because I feel like nowadays that's not something that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single ex of mine that I am still friends with.
Uh,
Even,
I think of
even our, yeah, I mean, even if our relationship ended like amicably.
yeah, no, no. I mean, it's different. She has a child with him, but also still though.
Right.
But okay. Anyways, she met her at the time current husband Rob while she was renting a chair at another salon. There was actually a 20 years age gap between them. Which funny story. That's how many years are between my parents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, Rob met her and he was immediately attracted to her. Ray of sunshine, amazing woman. He knew then and there that's who he was going to marry.
Oh.
He said the years he had with Patrice were the best years of his life, and he only remembers the highlights in love. And he said he was one of the luckiest men alive. But besides her shop, her world revolved around her son Pistol. He was her only child. He hung her moon and stars. He was her baby. Yeah, and it's this woman just seemed like an angel. And that's okay, that's funny. It reminds me in the documentary, one of her friends and clients, her name was Anne, and she said Patrice used to call her that. Be like, woman, what are you doing? Like, not in like a degrading way, just like a southern way.
Yeah.
And it's so cute. And like, she would always come to her shop. They described their shop as their hangout place. It was just so sweet. And every day after work, Anne would come and visit her.
That is so sweet.
It is. It's adorable. And you see what a good person she was and how people around her just loved and worshiped the ground she walked on.
Of course. I mean, I'm getting bummed out over here because I am familiar with this case. I know how it ends,
Yep.
but I've never done that much research into it. I mean, I knew that she was a good person, but I didn't know the extent to how much she was truly loved by people of her community.
Oh, the community loved Patrice. They absolutely did. So this will go into later why this crime seems so unimaginable. So okay, let's get back to the story. That's a little bit about Patrice. So they couldn't get a hold of Patrice. They saw no one in the shop. So they're like, okay, let's call her son's school. So they sent a resource officer to go get Pistol, which, by the way, I love that name. I don't know if that's his actual name or just like a nickname.
Yeah,
But that's so cool.
it is cool. I like it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Okay, in high school, they used to joke where my last name's Sharp. They used to joke, be like, Hannah, name your kid Razor.
Ah,
And I'm like, I should not like that as much as I.
right.
Yeah. Okay. They came and got Pistol, and they're like, have you talked to your mom? And he's like, yeah, this morning. She dropped him off at school. Um, they said, I love you, just normal parent stuff.
How old is Crystal at this point?
He was about 14, 15-ish. I think.
Okay.
But he's like, yeah, talk to her, normal parent stuff, blah, blah, blah. They then asked if he had any way to get in contact with her. And he's like, yeah. So he called her cell phone, no answer. He kept calling, and yet again, no answer. So he did this about 3 times. And this was unusual for Patrice, because if she did miss his call, she would usually call him right back.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, oh, I'll call him back hours. She was always very call right back.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So he's like, he didn't think nothing of it, but everyone else was kind of like, they were starting to get worried.
Yeah, I mean, if this is that out of the ordinary for her, it's good that they listen to that gut instinct.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think she's the one time we're going to talk about a pillar of the community that isn't a murderer.
I hate it when people are all like, they were a pillar of their community. And I'm like, yeah, that may be true, but
They're still a psycho.
yeah.
This is still ends very tragically. But
I mean, yeah.
Different story.
Yeah.
Okay, so the police and stuff, they started to build a timeline, and they got a lot of the information from Patrice's client book. She had clients all morning. At 8:50 a.m., Pam Shepard arrives for her 9 a.m. hair appointment. Pam comes in and says Patrice wasn't very attentive to her and seemed very distracted, which is very not normal for Patrice. Well, at 11:05, Pam leaves the shop. At 11:10, Paul Cater enters the shop. He left the shop at 11:27 a.m. And he actually got a call as he left, and they verified the phone call with the phone record. So he's out, he's clear, whatever. Then at 11:35, another client called to change their appointment. They said Patrice seemed very short on the phone, and it was very much unlike Patrice. They said the call lasted about 2 minutes, which Patrice, people person, 2 minutes, phone call is not her as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who you'll call them for one thing and you end up spending 2 hours on the phone because
yeah,
I mean, sometimes, you're having a really good conversation, but sometimes they just won't stop talking.
Yes. I feel like that is me sometimes, so I'm sorry about that. but yeah, no, she's just a people person. So like a 2-minute phone call with Patrice being very short was unlike her at all.
Yeah.
Then the next call comes in at 11:50, and she does not answer that.
Okay, so the first call was at
11:35.
11:35, and then
about 2 minutes.
Okay, so 11:37, hang up the phone.
Yep.
And then 11:50, another call comes in?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a 13-minute time span.
Yep. And police speculate whatever happened to Patrice happened in 13 minutes.
That's insane that they're able to have such a short window.
Yeah. I know in some things 13 minutes is kind of a lot, but in that you would not think that could happen in such a short time frame.
Yeah, I mean, you think about missing persons cases where there can be hours or even days in between, when the person was last seen and then when they're discovered to be missing.
Yeah.
So the fact that, yes, 13 minutes can be a long time, but 13 minutes in the grand scheme of things is
not
great.
that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that, it amazes me that could happen in barely any time. When police were asking around, like, where is she? What happened? They had 2 different witnesses independently from each other, which is very important. See her car pulled in up in front of her shop, and then another car. The first witness said it was a Chevy Luminol, and it was parked directly in front of the store. They said it was a blue color, they said, and it said, and they said the car had a Georgia Quail wildlife tag on it. The second witness believed it was a Ford Taurus, possibly a Malibu. But both witnesses said they saw a tall, dark-haired woman, believed to be Patrice, and a shorter, well, the first lady thought it was a shorter lady, and then the second witness thought it was a man. Both said they had shoulder-length hair. The way from the sketch it kind of reminds me of, it kind of looks like a Lord Farquaad hair.
Okay.
Yeah, the kind of, not a bowl cut, but like very like blunt,
yes,
gray hair.
Yeah.
The first witness said they had their hands on each other. Either like one was being pushed down or the other one was helping them up. She couldn't really tell. She said it didn't look normal though. But after the first witness talked to the detectives told her, you're probably the last person to see her alive.
Oh goodness. Imagine being told that.
The lady, I forgot to get her name, so I'm sorry about that. I don't want to use this word, but like I don't know of another word. She kind of had survivor's guilt from it.
Not survivor's guilt, but I think just, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but I essentially, being, feeling guilt that you could have potentially stopped something tragic. And, there's no way that this woman had of knowing what was going to happen. So, she is definitely not at fault for it at all.
Oh, no, definitely not. But she, as a person, had a lot of that guilt.
Yeah.
Because she's like, could I have stopped it? Could I have?
Right.
And you could tell she was feeling very guilty about that.
Yeah.
Well, with that, and as all cases, as you know, when the wife goes missing, the suspicion falls on the husband. Rob, her husband, knows her schedule, and something that they didn't know till later, Patrice wasn't very happy in her marriage. She was actually talking with her sister and her son about getting a divorce.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, though Rob claims that's new information to him, she would never do that. They were so happy. But it was confirmed by her sister, Kayleen Kramer, and her son, and then another one of her friends. So I definitely believe she was talking about that, especially her son, her sister, and her close friend. If they're all saying that, oh, sorry.
I could see, maybe him not knowing if she had just like been talking to her friend and her sister, but the fact that she spoke to her son about it, I think is a pretty good indicator that she had also spoken to him, because I can't imagine telling my son, "Hey, your father and I are, I want a divorce from your father."
Oh, it's not his father. It's his stepfather.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I am going to divorce your stepfather without having discussed it with the stepfather first.
Yeah. Thing is, Rob and Pistol didn't have that good of a relationship. So I believe, if anything, he's like, good, thank God. Patrice told them they weren't happy, they were fighting a lot, but it makes perfect sense though. If that were the reasons, that's a very good reason. Okay, that's not a very good reason to murder someone by any means.
It's a motive.
It's a good motive.
Good reason for murder.
Yes, okay. But though, Rob had an airtight alibi. They had stamped receipts from where he was at a gas station that was 45 minutes from Patrice's salon. Something was weird about the show, though. Show when I was watching Unsolved Mysteries, and it was Rob talking, and he was like, I get it. I know why you have to interview me, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, I have a degree in criminology, and laughed. And I don't know if that was a nervous laughter and I was just looking into it or what.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for, how people would react with.
And everyone feels grief differently.
Exactly. Everyone deals with grief. Everyone deals with like uncomfortable, nerve-wracking situations differently, because I would think, being interviewed by the police, that's pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And
I'm a nervous laughter. I get it.
Too.
Yeah. But like, it had it on Unsolved Mysteries. You can see it right there, it happening. So yeah, but okay, what really just kind of not irked me, but it was just kind of weird to me. He kept talking about husbands killing their wives, and he was like, you get to do this. And I'm like, that's a weird way to put it.
Yeah.
I thought the choice of words are very interesting. But yeah, okay, anyways. The police didn't want to come right out and say it was a kidnapping because they weren't sure if it was or not. It could have been someone she knew and just was like, something came up, they had to go help her.
Right.
They didn't know, so they didn't want to come out and say, oh yeah, she's been kidnapped, but they weren't really sure what to do.
Right.
But okay. With that, they started search parties. They searched for Patrice everywhere. Like, they had search groups, you name it, everyone was out searching. They had four-wheelers, ATVs, everyone. But they were searching for Patrice everywhere and no Patrice. They had hoped, and this is a horrible thing to think, but it was better than the alternative was that she just wasn't happy, or she just wasn't as mentally stable as everyone thought she had been, and just ran away.
Yeah.
And they were hoping for that.
Yeah.
They asked her friends if she would have left, and they're like, no, she would not have left without Pistol.
Right.
She would have left everything, but if she did not have her son, she would not have done it. Her son said he had hoped she had just left for a while to go straighten everything out so they could leave Rob, start a new life.
Yeah.
That's what he had hoped. Something that was weird, though, was I think a few weeks before she had disappeared, Patrice was talking to Pistol and asked, if you could go anywhere, where would you go? And he's like, I don't know, my dad's house. And she went on, if, like, what if something happened to me? And he's like, I don't know, and just kept going on about it. But then she finally dropped it, and he was like, okay, that was weird, but
Yeah.
he didn't think anything of it. And keep in mind, this was 2 weeks before she disappeared. Yeah. Um, and something, and I'm gonna get into this really deeply later in the theories section we've got going on here.
Yeah.
But the day Patrice went missing, Pistol went to go home, and Rob had changed the freaking locks on him.
What?
He changed the locks on his stepson. He said he did it as a precautionary measure.
Why would he have to do that as a precautionary measure?
Because he didn't like him. He thought he was going nowhere in life. Blah, blah, blah.
Did they get into an argument? Was Pistol violent at all?
I think they never had a good relationship the first few years. Rob tried to be a stepdad to Pistol because they got married when Pistol was 8 or 9. But then slowly started to change. There were times when he would be in his room and just to stay away from Rob.
Yeah. I mean, that is a typical teenage thing to do, to just hang out in your room and not want to be around your parent or your step parent or whatever. Like, I can get that, but
I know
changing the locks.
Yeah, no, hold on. This was also verified by Pistol's friends that Rob would walk by his room when his door would open and say very crude things to him.
Crude like what?
He didn't like go into detail on what it was, but yeah.
Don't like that.
Rob had said, and the audacity of this man, he's like, Pistol was jealous of the relationship I had with Patrice. And I'm like, that's his fucking mother.
Yeah, really. I mean, unless he means relationship, like just closeness, like indicating that Pistol and Patrice were not close and Pistol wanted to be close to his mother. But it sounds like they were really close.
They were extremely close. Like, Pistol said it, her sister said it, everyone said it. They were thick as thieves.
Yeah. I don't like this.
Oh no, it keeps getting worse.
Right.
But, yeah, he wouldn't even. Pistol would bang on the doors, bang on everything, just to let him in, but he wouldn't do it.
Why?
He said precautionary measures, and he said he'd never liked Pistol, but I'm like, that's not a good enough reason.
No, I mean, precautionary against what though? Like,
yeah.
And this is the same day that Patrice has gone missing?
Yes, the exact same day. I'll get more into that in theories.
Yeah.
But yeah, because mostly because we will spend too long talking about it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so on December 5th, 2005, 600 days after Patrice's disappearance.
I'm sorry, 600?
600 days.
What happened in those 600 days?
Searching, nothing. I couldn't really find information. It was just searching, looking.
So it was just that she just up and disappeared and they didn't find anything for 600 days?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So 600 days later, after Patrice's disappearance, skeletal remains are found behind Lebanon Baptist Church in Dawson Creek. Or not Dawson's Creek, that's a TV show. But Dawson County, unfortunately, they were identified as Patrice's.
Had she been there the whole time?
That's what they believe. The church is actually 6 miles away from Patrice's salon, so not that far at all. But it was very rural. Her body was actually discovered by a church member. His name was Earl Clark. He was out working, doing some remodeling on the church. Him and his friend were outside. They were just eating a biscuit, talking, and they saw some buzzards flying around the woods. So him and his friend went to go check it out. And it turned out to be a dead deer, but his friend was like, "Look behind you, Earl." And it turns out there was a human skull.
Oh my gosh.
they called police. They had a full investigative team within hours.
Yeah.
And that's how they discovered it was her body.
Oh my goodness.
They said the church is very remote. It's very, very remote. And especially Patrice's salon is, from the looks of it, was like on a highway. Not a highway, but on the main road. And from where the church looked, it was very, very remote.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it looked, they weren't sure if she was dragged there, walked down voluntarily, or what. But they said it was very difficult to carry dead weight up to where the church was and where they had put the body.
So they think that she was alive and walked
They,
up there.
They don't think that. They're not sure. That it's
Okay.
a theory.
Okay.
Investigators were there for about a day and a half, which doesn't seem very long to me.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it would just depend on the amount of evidence that you can gather, and if 600 days has passed, there's not going to be much that's left.
Yeah, definitely not. They said there are 206 bones in the body. They left with a little less than that, so they found most, but not all of her body.
Right, and I can imagine that with there being almost 2 years that had passed in that time, the amount of wear and tear that her body had experienced, animals coming in.
Animals, weather, you name it.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
And especially 6 miles. You would think had found it.
Yeah.
But okay, we do not know what she died from. I looked at many different articles and could not find anything. So I want to assume that that's guilty information, or they could not disclose, but she was too gone to figure out what she had actually died from.
Yeah.
They did not find, I don't know if they found her clothes or not, they did not mention that. But they did not find her wedding band and her engagement rings. It's a 1.5 carat diamond. They said it was pear-shaped, but it looked a lot more like Marquise, or not Marquise, but that other kind of diamond that's kind of like a double triangle. Okay, so it's more like that cut than it is like a pear shape. This will all be on our website, so.
Yeah, so for our listeners, it's an eye shape that is turned sideways.
Yes.
That's kind of the best way that I can describe it. Or like a tear shape that is pointy on both ends.
Yes.
2 points, and it's fat in the middle.
Yep. And pear shape is more a round bottom.
With a pointy top.
Yes. Exactly like a pear. And we're gonna Google. This will be on the website, but.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely more that.
Definitely more marquee than pear.
Yes. Okay. That was very important for Sip's story. But also with that, it had 2 14-karat gold bands around it. But unfortunately, after her body's discovered, there was a lot of false confessions too. One of them was, but Jeremy Jones seemed normal for the South, like to hunt, fish, all that normal stuff. But he also liked to sexually abuse women, and by definition, he was a serial killer.
What? I'm sorry. Where did this come from?
Well, let me get into it why they suspect him. When they had Jeremy in custody and he was confessing to all the other horrible stuff he did.
Yeah.
Like, I have to confess about a hairdresser in Georgia. Well, he said he was passing by the shop and went in to ask her to come out and help him. He needed a jump. So he had a knife and he forced her into the car and he told her he was going to kill her. She was crying. He went to a river and threw her over the other side of the bridge in Sweetwater Creek, which sounds like something out of Riverdale, honestly.
Yeah, it does.
But Patrice's salon and Sweetwater Creek were 65 miles from each other.
Okay, so that's not correct.
Yeah. But at the time, that was the only real lead they had had.
Yeah.
And it fit the profile.
Right.
So they brought cadaver dogs in, boats, the whole spooky ooky 9 yards, all of that jazz. But they found nothing. And the more they started to look into it, the more they found out not the truth. And by that time, he had recanted his statement. There's also another one. Technically, he was a convicted killer. He killed a hitchhiker. His name was, hold on, let me go down to it. It's in theories. Was Gary Michael Hilton. He said he was known to con people out of money. He made a comment his favorite place to go was to con people out of money was hair salons, and his favorite time to go was lunchtime.
So that would fit the time and the profile.
Yes, absolutely. But the thing was, they couldn't not convict him of it or connect him to it. It was all just circumstantial. So they're like, it's a good fit, but there's nothing proving he was even in the area of the time.
Right, and you can't just try to charge someone with something based on circumstantial evidence alone.
Even though it's very good circumstantial evidence,
there has to be something else there other than, hey, you like to go to hair salons and con people out of money around lunchtime. Like that's crazy circumstantial.
Extreme. But it also seems like circumstantial evidence that's too coincidental.
Yeah.
But like they said, they had no real proof to connect him to that.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, it does grow cold. But, and this is something I noticed from the Unsolved Mysteries episode, they all of her family thinks Rob has something to do with it. And this is going more into her theories, that which I can't blame them for thinking that. But let's go into this one thing before we officially get into theories. Because yes. So when they got, this is an extra nail in the coffin, no pun intended, of why I do not like Rob. Okay. So when they got Patrice's body back from, I don't know if they did an autopsy, but whatever they did, Rob asked the funeral home people to lay Patrice's remains out in anatomical order, that which, okay, little weird, but like, it's your wife, I get it. Like,
yeah, like you may want to like see her for a last time, and if this is the only way you can do it, like I'm not gonna judge someone's grieving process.
Oh, but this part I am sure as hell gonna judge on. He was like looking at it, whatever. He picked up her skull and carried it around with him. I'm sorry for headphone users.
What?
Yes, he picked up her skull and carried it around with him in the place.
Okay. I mean, again, people react to traumatic situations in various ways.
Yes.
However,
Indeed.
That's a little odd.
Odd is not even the right word for it, Megan.
No, it's a little creepy.
Little, yes, little
suspicious. I mean, again, like even if my husband and I were fighting and he is like, I want a divorce, and I'm like, oh no, and then he goes missing and he's found 600 days later. Even I can't imagine picking up the skull of my dead husband
and carrying it around with you.
I'm surprised that they let him do that to begin with.
I mean, I guess, okay, I hate what I'm about to say because women are not property by any means, but technically that's the next of kin. So I'm like, I don't want to say you can do with whatever the body you want, because that's not what I mean at all.
Right.
But technically it's not a crime, unfortunately.
But I mean, I'm assuming that her going missing at this point was considered a crime.
Yes, that's a crime, but like him picking up her skull and...
Right. I mean, I'm surprised that he was allowed to handle that evidence in that way, because at that point, her body is evidence.
Yeah. Well, I think this was after they released her body to the family.
Okay.
After they released her body.
Okay. That makes it a little...
Not much, but...
That's just so creepy. Oh my gosh.
Okay, like, at my grandma's funeral, I couldn't even, like, touch... Because my little cousin was like, touch her hand. And I'm like, I couldn't even do that.
No, I can't do that at funerals either.
And
No.
I know that you're wife, but how in the hell can you grab her skull and be like holding it like a baby or something?
Ugh, that's just creepy.
Yeah, creepy indeed. Indeed, and oh my god, it keeps getting worse. Before we get into theories, sorry guys. Oh, okay, this is something that really rubbed me the wrong way. Besides that, obviously, in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, he said, and I quote, "The last time I saw Patrice anywhere intact," unquote.
That's some interesting wording.
Very interesting wording.
Not the wording I would have chosen.
Definitely not.
Again, people grieve in different ways. You know, this is a traumatic situation.
Yeah.
But the term intact kind of
It makes
raises some eyebrows.
Very much so. And I get it, you have a criminology degree. I get it. But also a little sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, like you have a criminology degree. Is it in like forensics or?
He didn't say. He's just like, I have a degree in criminology.
Okay. I mean, he could very easily, you know, be using some lingo that us as non-criminology majors aren't used to using.
Yeah. But still, it's very suspicious.
I don't know. Talking about the term intact when referring to your dead wife is a little, yeah, a little
odd.
little odd.
Little odd indeed. Okay, we're gonna keep getting worse before we get into theories because it's not even. Yeah. Well, okay. Her body was cremated, but he slept with her ashes in the box in his bed with him. Which, okay, that's not my place to judge. He's a grieving husband.
Right. I feel like that's a little bit more normal,
Yeah.
though. I mean, you know, picking up her skull, the word intact, that's a little much, but you know, I can imagine that that is a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Perhaps not
Like,
not one that us looking at it from the outside in would understand, but
I've never lost a husband, knock on wood. I've lost many a boyfriends, but not in that term.
You have not killed your boyfriends.
No. I'm just not very good at keeping them.
I mean, same.
Singles club forever. Okay, back to seriousness. This is another very shitty thing he's done to Pistol. And keep in mind, this man is now remarried.
Okay. So wait, he's gotten remarried in the 600 days.
No, not. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have clarified. Him as of 2020 or 2019, whenever this was recorded, he got remarried.
Okay. So it's been some time.
Yeah. Okay. This man still has her ashes. But the really shitty thing he's done, and he legitimately said this in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, he was not going to share her ashes with anyone, including Pistol, her own son.
And I'm assuming that Pistol isn't living with him anymore.
No. After he locked him out, he went to go live with his dad.
Oh my gosh.
Which, thank God, his dad was around.
Yeah, I mean that poor kid.
Like,
I mean, he's not a kid anymore, but like I cannot imagine the amount of trauma that poor guy went through.
And like you could see it on his face when he was talking about her. He was so sad. It was so sweet though. He had her all Patrice's name tattooed on his arm,
Oh.
and it was so cute. And like, I know I harp on everyone who smokes, but he was smoking in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, and I'm like, dude, with all that, do what you gotta do.
I mean, yeah, smoking is not healthy. We all know this.
Yeah. But like, for him, do what you gotta do, my dude. You need it.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been through that amount of horrible experiences, trauma, and your like unhealthy coping mechanism is smoking, there are far worse things that you could be doing.
Far worse things that I will not judge on. But yeah, Pistol couldn't even get any pictures of her or anything. And I'm like, that's, and him talking about not going to share it with Pistol. That's her son. She made him out of her body.
Seriously, that's so wrong.
Like, okay, even if it was just a little bit sharing with him, it's still his mom.
Yeah.
Also, there is a, not a GoFundMe, but a change.com petition we'll put in our website to get them to give her body or ashes over to Pistol because he deserves them.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what their, belief system is on ashes and if they're, split them up, keep them together. Everybody has different opinions and beliefs on that, and I'm not going to be like split them up because while to me that makes sense to do, for them it may be a whole different thing. But as her son, he should
Have at least, it's his mother.
yeah, that's his mom. I mean, if they are okay with splitting up her ashes, he should definitely have some.
And
That's
it's just because Rob is so selfish not to give
yeah,
her body. It's that body made him.
seriously, that is so just sad and wrong. Ugh.
Yeah, very wrong. I don't know how good the change position or not position, but would do, but I mean at least something.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, let's move on to theories, even though this kind of was part of my theory. The
Yeah.
third theory is Rob did it. And even the police said that, and even after all the interviews they did with him, it didn't 100% rule him out. So it diminished the likelihood of him physically doing it, but they said they didn't rule him out of murder for hire.
Okay, I can see that.
Um, and that's what her son believes, her sister believes, her friends believe. No one really liked Rob.
No, and based on how he has been acting and what's especially suspicious to me is that when he was first interviewed by police, he said that they weren't having any issues, they weren't fighting, that everything was fine. And then every other person in her life said the exact opposite of that. That to me is really suspicious.
Very suspicious indeed, especially the police said they looked at all options and stuff, or all motives of him, but I'm like, I don't believe they truly did,
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a little too much suspicious stuff that
Right.
do not sit right with me.
Yeah.
Also, his comment on who people that think he did kill Patrice is he has no comment because he doesn't talk to those people that think that he killed Patrice. And he said because he knows he didn't do it, and Patrice knows he didn't do it. But Patrice is dead, so
Yeah, I mean, I can playing devil's advocate here for a second. If someone is super, super convinced that he is the one who did it, and there's nothing that he can say to convince them otherwise, then yeah, I would understand not talking to those people because there's no point in doing it anyway.
but like her sister, her son, her friends, everyone.
Yeah.
I understand why you're playing or the devil's advocate.
Right.
He also said he says there is no motive. She didn't have life insurance. And I'm like,
There's other motives other than life insurance, friend.
There's a lot of other motives, my dude.
Yeah.
And I was scrolling through Twitter, whatever day I just did this on. I don't even remember what day I did this on, but when I wrote this. But the Twitter user is Lena CJ24, and they were saying that something they couldn't get past is the day Patrice went missing, Rob changed the locks. How would he not know she's coming home the next day?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, did she know that he was changing the locks, or
he was not planning to change the locks before. He did it within that 24 hours.
Yeah, that is suspicious.
And this is another thing going on to that. And this is from, if I believe I got the creator of, not the creator, but of the original, but this Unsolved Mysteries, I think. I could be totally wrong. Hold on, let me double check real quick. His name is Jimmy Goldblum. I know who he is, but I don't know if he's just the new Unsolved Mysteries producer or the original, and I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the director for the new Unsolved Mysteries, Jimmy Goldblum, he said in the podcast, "You can't make this up," which I found this from the article on radiotimes.com. And they'll be in our sources. And I quote, "I think there's a really salient point there, which is that he did it within 24 hours. Side note, this is him talking about Rob changing the locks. Back to quote, "I think it's in that point in the case, you have police dogs out, you have the town going through the woods, you have ATVs, everyone is searching. There's still the idea that Patrice could come back. So the fact he felt comfortable to change those locks within the 24-hour window, when the whole town was under the belief she was missing and still alive, I will say in terms of things that stroke my imagination on set, that was a major one." End quote.
Yeah.
The whole, you doing that, your wife presumably still alive, and you've changed the locks, and how do you know she's not coming back? An accident just happened.
Right.
A little sketchy, Robert. Or I don't know if his name is actually Robert, but little sketchy, Rob. And then the other one, like I said before, is that not Jim Jones, Jeremy Jones was the one that killed her, but I think all the evidence points to not on that one. And then the final theory, which I also said earlier, was that Gary Michael Hamilton killed her. And they can't really disprove it, but they can't prove it either. So that's just, yeah. But so that is the disappearance and murder of Patrice Endres. If you have any information on the Ford Taurus, possible Malibu, or the Chevy Luminol with the Georgia Quail wildlife tags, and this is a blue car, or Patrice's wedding rings, please contact the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's tip line at 800-597-8477 or go to unsolved.com. And so that is the disappearance and murder of Patrice Endres. Thank you all for listening to A Criminally Basic Podcast. If you want to find out more, check us out on A Criminally Basic Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. And you can check out our sources as well as photos on our website, www.acriminallybasicpodcast.podbean.com. Thank you guys so much.